And now let's take a look at trims that we can use for our projects and talk about some ways to organize and store them. Because as you can see here, when you start messing with your trims and you dump them out, they can create quite a tangled mess. So organization is key, and we'll touch on that a little bit. First, let's take a look at some of the different types of trims that we have to use. In the center right here, I have a bunch of these tiny little cotton lace trims, and these are from a site that I've shared previously. It's also in the Ultimate Resource Guide. The site is called cottonlace.com. This company is frequently at sew expos and sewing shows, so you can get this local to you, but they do ship worldwide. It's a great price, and they have tons of little tiny different delicate 1/4 inch wide and other sizes of very pretty delicate lace trims. So the nice thing is these are cotton. You can dye these if you want to match your garments, or you can just use them white. They're easy to sew with, and they're lightweight, and they're a perfect scale for a variety of doll clothes designs. They work great for applied trims. They also work great for inserted trims if you use the ones that have the delicate pointed edges or little scalloped edges. These are great peeking out of princess seam lines and items like that. Twill tape is a great trim to have on hand as well. This right here is 1/8 inch wide, and this can be used in a variety of designs. It's great for lacing and as an applied trim. You can also find this in 1/4 inch wide, which works well for some of the designs too. Now, one of my favorite things to do when I'm looking and perusing at antique stores is to find vintage trims. And so I found a bunch of these. This one here is an elastic trim, but it's even on the vintage cardboard, which is cute for display if I decide not to use it. But it's a great way to find a variety of different types of delicate trims. You can find them very small in a variety of colors, so that to me is really fun to shop for. And then you can mix things into your designs with unique pieces that you're not finding at stores like Joann's or Fabric.com, so it helps to create a little bit of a unique look for the items that you create. This one down here on the bottom was also a vintage trim that I picked up. This is quite large, but for the right design, I could either use this entirely as the ruffle, maybe as a sleeve, or the type of area that's going to cover the shoulder on the doll garment, or I might just use this bottom edge and trim this whole top part off and just use this as an inserted trim or applied or peeking out from a seam line. This one right here is what we call Cluny trim, and this is the smaller, about 3/8 inch wide. You can also find this 1/4 inch wide. You can also have a Cluny trim that is solid that we've used as the inserted trim on the Roebuck base skirt. That comes in a variety of widths, and the great thing about this too is that you can dye this to match your garments. You can sew it all together and dye it all together. You can dye them separate. It works really well for that. It also provides a casual look. It's great for 70s or boho style designs. Over here on the right, I have a really pretty beaded trim. So I'll pick up these types of trims, and then I'll use them on designs like Hello Oscar, where I will come in and cut them apart and then actually piece them together in a different way. I had a navy blue version of this that I used for the cover dress for Hello Oscar. We took portions of this trim, cut them apart, and pieced them together in different ways to create the element of the design that goes down the side of the dress. So the nice thing about something like this is there's very pretty and delicate embroidery and beaded work that's sewn on, and you can use that in a variety of ways, and it saves a ton of handwork for you. You can also find some that coordinate. So here's one that has a little bit different design of the flowers, and we can piece these together in different ways. If you carefully cut them apart, you can always use fray check to keep them from unraveling, but I haven't had too much problem with that when I cut them apart in ways where I have the whole embroidered design together. It'll stay together like this flower. I could snip off the sides and I can add the flowers down to the dress design. Other trims that are great to have on hand are velvet ribbon or silk ribbon. They both add very nice detail work, and it really elevates your design when you use high quality trims like these. Grosgrain ribbon is also great to have on hand, and I have a bunch of these in different colors that I keep on hand all the time. This is 1/4 inch. 1/8 inch ribbon is great to have on hand as well. Now let's talk a little bit about organization. Something that I do frequently is just keep my trims in glass jars. I can see them all, but as you can see here, it's pretty mixed up and it's pretty tangled. So this type of storage might not work for everybody, so we have a few different ideas. One is what I've shown, these glass containers, clear containers. The other is taken from this type of idea right here. Now, when I purchased this, it came on this piece of cardboard like this. It's not very pretty, but it gives me the idea to create little pieces like this to organize my trim, similar to this vintage style piece. So let's take a look at cutting our comic board, which is what we use to wrap our fabric on. It's a heavyweight cardstock. I'm going to cut this to fit inside the organization baskets that I already have on hand. These are just a little bit less than 2 inches at the base of this container. So I want my pieces to be less than 2 inches wide. And then I'm going to stack them in here systematically with the trim wrapped around each one. So I'm simply going to take my cardstock, mark this just below. It's 1/8 of an inch smaller than the 2 inches. And then I'm going to cut along this line. And you can do that either with scissors or a rotary cutter, depending on what you have on hand. Now I'm going to double check to make sure that fits down in there, and that will fit fine. Then I'm just going to cut my boards so that they're shorter than the height of the basket. This again is just about 2 inches in height. So here I have a few pieces, and again, these were less than 2 inches wide, so I want to make sure that I have them all in the right direction. And then I'm going to use these in here to organize my trims. So at that point, then I will just take my trims and wrap them around. You can cut small slits into the side so that you could start it and it will hold it at the beginning. That might make it a little bit easier for you, and then you can simply wrap them around. And then at the end, you can either just tuck the trim inside. You could have a tiny little pin that was holding them down. But I find that if I just pull it back under, it will hold it down, and then we'll work to just put the trims in there. And they'll stack together once we have multiple ones to set down inside. And you can also cut your slit right on the side. So then here I have that tucked right in, and that keeps that from unraveling. Then we'll work to just continue to fill our basket, cutting the cardstock, and then we can organize all of our different trims in this method. All right, so now at this point, it's a good time for you to go take stock of everything that you have. Look at the different trims that you have, identify the types that they are, and maybe sort and organize them by the types that you could use for different things, or by size. So you have 1/4 inch trims, 1/2 inch trims, 3/8 inch trims, 1/8 inch trims, so that they're stored and organized in a way that they're easy to find and ready to use as we move forward with the projects in this course.